Good evening. It's going to be an amazing time tonight. If you're watching the replay, do well to share a heart or a nice emoji in the chat. So today's live session is going to be with Mommy Mo, the founder of the Right Fit Marriage, and you want to be sure that you stay till the end. Hi, Tinky. Welcome. You're the first to join today. How are you doing? Hope you had a great day. So while we wait for everyone else to join in, I'd like to do just a brief talk on what we are talking about. Hi, Talistica, I see you. I see you. Welcome, everyone. Go tell your friends. Go tell your spouses. Today's session is going to be for couples. So husbands, get in here. Wives, get in here. Grab some snacks, water, fruits, so that we can have a really good time tonight. Great. Hi, Thompson. I see you. Welcome, everyone. So everybody wants an exciting marriage. Everybody wants a fun-filled, strong marriage, purposeful marriage, godly marriage, and those beautiful things, right? But we fail to realize, hi TP to come, we fail to realize that that kind of marriage is intentionally built and it requires a significant level of investment. Okay, a client once told me at the end of our session one, she said, Mrs. Sparkles, now I know what it means to put in the work in your marriage. Prior to that time, she was like, she's always hearing marriage requires work. Marriage requires work. And then she always wonders, what is this work? Can't we just wake up and do life normally? Like, can't we just run on autopilot, But it became really, really clear to her. And that's the kind of clarity you're going to be getting into this session, right? The storm. We're talking about building a strong and exciting marriage that can stand through the storm, right? And the storm here refers to different things. Everybody goes through one challenge or the other, one issue in life. The issue is, are you prepared for when the storm comes? Or would you begin to run for help when the storm comes? Hi, dear, you're welcome. So I'm not going to waste our time. I'm going to invite our guests right away. I saw her earlier. Okay. So, Mommy Mo, please, can you send a request so that I can accept and have you in? Ladies and gentlemen, you want to go invite everybody in your circle. This session is going to be very insightful. Okay. I'm waiting for my guests to send a request so that we can start off. 2 and 1. She's here in a minute, guys. Okay. Again, we're talking about building a strong and exciting. Hi, Mommy Mo. Good evening, Ma.
Hello, Mrs. Sparkles. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on your platform.
Thank you for coming over. I feel on top of the world. I'll see you tonight, and I'm so excited, and I cannot wait for all of the insights. Like I'm just going to pick your brain and collect everything you have built over the decades, right? So without wasting much time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read the profile of Mommy Mo, and then we're going to jump right into it. So now this profile is deciding to load forever. Guys, just give it a minute, please. Just give it a minute. Just give it a minute. So for a long time, I've been like, how am I going to get Mommy Mo onto this platform? I've listened to her on so many places, physically, virtually, and it amazes me how she has been able to combine. There's a lot about her marriage, and you will hear along the session. There's so much uniqueness about the kind of marriage that she has and how she has been able to survive it for a number of decades. Wait, let me read her profile. So Modupe Ehirim, she's the founder and lead counselor at the Right Fit Marriage Academy. She helps you become a person that your spouse is excited to come home. All those times your spouse is saying they are working late, start asking yourself if they are really working late, or if you have made your home problem that you don't want to come to. Okay? She's a certified Symbis facilitator. For those who don't know, Symbis means save your marriage before it starts. So she's a certified Symbis facilitator. She's a certified family systems engineering practitioner. She's my senior colleague. She teaches on marriage topics, and she does this in a 19,000 Facebook community. So just imagine her in a very big hall with 19,000 people. This is the audience that she has blessed over the years. And she does this daily because I'm there, I'm in that community. She does this daily, okay? She also shares on a popular weekly relationship and marriage show, Mama's Corner on Wazobia FM, Wazobia 95.1 FM radio. She's the author of Marriage is Not a Trap, 30 Reasons Why Couples Quarrel About Money, and Couples Connect. This is the latest one, and I've read it. Couples Connect is a workbook for assessing and enhancing your marriage. Now, this is the sweet part. She's happily married in an inter-ethnic marriage for 37 years. Ladies and gentlemen, with so many hearts, so many positive emojis in the chat, please join me to welcome Mommy Love.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Ma. Thank you for spending the night with us. So I'm interested in one part, right? Before we jump into, it's freezing at your end, but I hope you can hear me. Please let me know.
I can hear you very clearly.
Okay, fantastic. You're welcome, ma'am. You're welcome. So I don't know if you want to do some extra introduction, but I have one particular question. Mommy Mo, please tell us, how have you navigated marriage from that newly-wed young wife to being mommy, grandma, 37 years, happily married? Please, we need to cut soap today and hold it in our pockets. So the floor is yours.
All right. That's a good question. Maybe if you asked me this question 10 years ago, I would not have a straightforward answer. But because people have asked me again and again, I've really sat down to think about it. And the first thing is that, like many people, I started marriage. I wasn't thinking of 37 years. In fact, I wasn't thinking anything at all. I was just too happy to have married my husband. And then, like everybody else, I just thought we'll continue to live from day to day. But my late mom, I think she's the one who laid the foundation for.
Wow.
She always said to me that, you know, do anything that you want to do that you don't know how to do. Get somebody to teach you. And if you can't get somebody to teach you, there is a book already written about it. Early in our marriage, you know, when all of the normal things, most people think that it happens to everybody, you know. So in the first couple of years of your marriage, when you are getting to know one another, there will be a lot of upside down. When those things happen, Levency Stores was very close to my office. So during lunch break, I would go to Levency Store, go to the bookstore part of it, and try to look for can I get a book that is addressing whatever is going on between me and my husband. And so what that did for me is that very early, it showed me that there is a lot that you need to learn. There is a lot that you need to know, which I didn't know. So reading these books, I remembered what I always share with people is this silent treatment. You know, when your spouse will be offended by you and then would not talk to you for days, would not eat your food. When this happened to me, I went to the bookstore, and to my surprise, There was a book that actually talked about it, and then the author of the book explained that it has nothing to do with you, that it has to do with the other person, that they have not yet learned how to communicate when they are unhappy. Man, that was a relief for me, so I was no longer unhappy and crying. Why is he not talking to me? Why is he not eating my food? I just relaxed and took it in my stride. So once I found out that, everything that happens to you, you can ask questions, you can find out, you can read books. Essentially, I just became somebody who became aware of the work that you need to do intentionally to get to know your partner, to understand marriage, and to practice it. And I've never turned back. I've been married for 37 years now, and right now, as a woman whose children have left home, who is now becoming a mother-in-law and who will soon become a grandmother, who she and her husband are pensioners, I actually am reading books for this phase of my life. I'm reading books that is going to help us to understand when we're no longer here, should we relate with our children now? So that would be the secret, a willingness to learn and an openness to change. Most people usually expect me to talk about, this is the way sweet nothings. Sweet nothings happen after you have done the gritty work. Let me say that again. Sweet nothings happen after you have done the gritty work. So when you have done the gritty work of learning, of understanding yourself, of understanding your partner, of understanding marriage and the season that you are in, that's when romance shows up.
Wow. Wow. After you have done the foundational work. Wow. So somebody reached out to me today when you were talking about this silent treatment thing, and she was like, I am free. I am free because I don't have to worry when my husband is not able to communicate. When he starts his silent treatment, I know that it's not about me. It's about him not being able to communicate. When you said that now, it just rang the bell again, like, yes, this is really true. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing that. We are really looking forward to really get so much. Now, to our topic today, especially for those that are just joining us, we're talking about building a strong and exciting marriage that can stand through the storm. I like that she has already laid a foundation, but I want to say, Ma, there's so many couples in today's world who want to enjoy happily ever after, but they do not really know how to build that kind of marriage that will serve them. That's sweet nothing you're talking about. So please, Ma, how can we build so that when the storm comes, we will stand firm?
Okay. I think the first thing that couples today need to recognize is that it doesn't matter how much you loved your partner and how nicely you people treated one another, the person you married is a stranger. The person you married is a stranger. It is when you get married and start living with them 24/7, that's actually when you begin to understand what it would mean to love this person. Why do I say the person is a stranger? If you married at 28 and you had dated your partner for 3 years before you married them, so you have 3 years knowledge of them. Yes. You have 25 years of living, of experience, of origin, of exposure, of things that happened to them and have shaped their life that you have absolutely no idea about. And every time they open their mouth to talk to you, or every time they act, you do not know, you don't have that history to judge, to interpret what they're doing. Yeah. So the first thing to understand, if you're going to have a healthy, long-lasting marriage, is to recognize that you married a stranger. So all those things people say, when after I married them, they changed. No, they didn't change. You didn't have enough knowledge about them. Even in today, when we say ask this question, discuss this, and so on and so forth. So, for example, let's take the silent treatment, since I have used that as an illustration. If a person grew up in a home where, you know, when the mother is offended with the child, you know, they will scold the child and then the mother would ignore the child. You know, some people do that. They don't know. It's their way of punishing the child. So that child grows up to be thinking, when somebody offends you, ignore them. That's the way that they would know. So you now meet this nice person. You know, of course, you people are doing jolly, no serious offense. Or even if they offend you or you offend them, you'll be unhappy. You go to your house, they'll go to your house. By the time you people meet again, the breeze has blown over it. You know, now you get married and you're living in the same home and they won't go anywhere. So both of you are unhappy with one another. You get into bed, you wake up again, you are in one another's space. The only way up until that time that that person knows how to deal with it is to do the silent treatment. And now you are now discovering it, because they could have done the silent treatment and not called you for 2 days, and two of you won't see one another for 2 days. Because you were not living together, it will not look like a big thing. But now that you're living together, you wake up the following day, you put breakfast, they don't eat it. You come back in the evening, you put dinner, they don't eat it. It will now look as if your world is falling apart. And then the question that comes to your mind is, what has made this person to change? No, the person didn't change. The person, you just didn't know enough about the person. So when these kind of things come up, they just signals to you that there is stuff I don't know about my partner.
Wow.
And the way to do it, if you want a long-lasting marriage, is to approach it with curiosity, not with judgment. So with judgment is to say he's a bad husband, she's a bad wife. How can any mature person ought not to behave this way? With curiosity is to say, what's going on in the mind of this person? What is it that I don't know about them? They have lived 25 years before me. What experiences have they had that I don't know about? So that's the very first thing. Recognize that you married a stranger. Now, this matter of building love maps, that's what the Gottman's doctors, Gottman psychologists who have worked with many, many couples in their laboratory. What they then say to us is that any couple that wants to stay long and weather storms successfully need to build what we call love map. Now, what is a love map? A love map is the map of the knowledge that you have about your partner. So what you know about your partner, what you know about their history, what you know about what has shaped them, and why do you need this in-depth love map? You need this in-depth love map so that you can rightly interpret their behavior. So for example, when my husband and I first married, my husband is older than me by 12 years. So before he married me, he had already been keeping his financial records for about 15 years. That means he writes his expenses, he writes his income, he has such details. Now, me, the first time I ever heard the word budget was when my husband married me. So of course, when he married me and I was clueless about money, the man was afraid and was thinking, what have I let myself in for? But the thing is that in our interaction, he knew a lot about me. He knew that at that time I graduated from university with first-class honors in chemical engineering. So he felt this woman is a smart woman. When I talk with her, so how come she's totally clueless about this?
About budget.
And so he approached me with curiosity. And once he found out that nobody in my entire life had ever educated me about that, he realized that there is no need for him to be getting angry with me about it.
Wow.
he knew that it had taken him all of 30-something years to become the kind of person who is proficient in managing personal and family finance. I was just finding out about it at that stage. Of course, it will take me time. So what it meant was that as we continued in our marriage, having that kind of information about me, he used it to remind himself that it's not that she's careless. It's just that she's never known this thing, and now she's learning it. And as he was watching me change, and in the same way, I can tell you also things about him. So, for example, he grew up in a communal home and had a lot of cousins and everything. I came from a nuclear home, and I had to realize that my reality was not the only one. So in our own interaction, when we were interacting with one another, all of the things that would ordinarily cause bad goes, they caused. The bad goes actually happened. But two things, remember what I said in the beginning, I was educating myself about what was happening. And two, my knowledge of my husband and his knowledge of me made us to look at our lives and say, this is not anything to fight about. This is something we need to work together on. The third thing is that we had a long-term view of our marriage. So we sort of, when we talked, when we looked at the things that we are doing together, we weren't doing it like is today, you know. So we had discussed many things that had showed us about one another, that we had a long-term view. So we were our children were still toddlers, but we had already talked about how they would do master's program, you know, abroad. So we both also knew that we were rubbing one another the wrong way. We were having great misunderstandings, and we had great misunderstandings. People don't always believe that there was a point in our life when my husband went to my parents and went to his parents and said, I have asked her to go. Yes, so people, all those things are normal. They happen because you and your partner are strangers. They happen because you and your partner have not taken time to build love maps. It happens because you and your partner do not know how to recognize what we call now. If there is some parts of Lagos State, Lagos Island to be precise. So when I was younger, if you go to Lagos Island, you know, and you go to a particular place, when the people are greeting one another, they'll be saying, of course, any other person who hears Orie Oda is going to be thinking, why are you insulting him?
Me.
But in that part of Lagos Island, that is actually how they greeted one another affectionately, by using all these insults. So I use that as a vivid illustration. So for somebody who does not know that those statements are what we call emotional bids for attention, when somebody says, they will get offended and they will turn away from the person. But for somebody who is familiar, who knows that, and when the person says, the person is going to die, and they will go on and they'll be okay. So couples also, you know, as they're building love maps and they understand one another, they're able to interpret their partner's words, their partner's action. So when the person is bidding for their attention, even though it is in a way that is repulsive. So I give you a practical illustration. So you have offended your wife and you have not talked to her. And then when you finally decide that you want to talk now, you know, you now come to her and you start trying to tickle her, or you trying to make her laugh. The average woman would interpret that as insult. Now, what do you mean? You have not talked to me for one whole week, now you're coming. Yes. But that actually is a bid for attention. The person is saying to you, I know that I caused a breach, but I now want to come back. Anybody who understands that as a bid for attention will respond positively, because they know that when they respond positively and the interaction is restored, they have created an environment in which they can now speak out about how they were hurt by your
Beautiful.
action. But because you don't
Yes.
understand these bids for action, when the person makes a bid for your attention, you turn away. And when you turn away, it becomes even more difficult to breach the thing. So
Yes.
this essentially are the fundamentals of how me and my husband, we have stayed for 37 years. Let me just summarize them again. Number one, recognize that your partner is a stranger. No matter
Stranger,
how much
yes.
you people love one another, is a stranger, and there is a lot that you would need to do. Number two, you need to build love maps. What does building
Yeah.
love maps mean? It means that you need to make an effort to find out and understand what are the things that has made my partner who they are. So for example, if you meet me, you will think I'm a Yoruba person, and I am. Both my parents are from a Yoruba town. However, because of the way the world was at that time, all their relatives were living kilometers away in the north, and my parents were alone in the south. So I actually grew up in a nuclear family of no uncle, no auntie, and anything. So even though if you know Yoruba people now, you're going to be thinking, people who like going to party, doing a lot of things with their family. If you come to me, you won't see that. So if somebody married me and is looking at me, Yoruba girl, and is interpreting that they won't know, they would need to interact with me that, yes, I have Yoruba origin, but I actually grew up more like an English person. And so they will then know, how do I relate with this person? And they will know, how do I
Yes.
interpret her behavior? Yeah. And so when you do the love maps, I then said you have to have a long term, that's number three, a long
Yeah.
term perspective of your marriage. This person you married, the intention is to live another 50 years together. When you are building a 50-story building, you don't get unhappy at the foundation because you saw water or you saw
No.
rock instead of it. You're not going to leave that land. You're not going to leave. You're just going to say, let me understand this foundation better. And then maybe the foundation I had prepared before is not adequate. Let me now do. And then the last thing,
Yes.
understand. The more that you know these first three things, then the more you'll be able to rightly interpret when your partner is making a bid for your attention, especially when interaction has been broken between the two of you.
Wow. Wow. I'm liking this bid for attention so much. Thank you so much, ma. You said a lot. See, my notes is already full, 2 pages. Like this is so helpful. Thank you so much, ma. Now, I have a question with regards to this bid for attention. So I know, and I've heard a lot of people say that my spouse does not apologize. My spouse does not apologize. However, I have come to realize that what they really mean by that is they want their spouse to apologize in a particular way. So maybe to say, oh, I'm sorry, or I didn't mean to do that, or that was a mistake. But the spouse is not coming in that way. The spouse is actually going through this bid for affection in the way that they didn't fit, like coming to tickle you or buying you suya because you've been asking for suya. What do you advise a spouse to do when the spouse is refusing to turn to their own apology language? Do they just give up and keep accepting that bid that the spouse gives? Or do they keep fighting and saying, accept today's, but tomorrow if you try it, I will show you that no, you must apologize? How do they navigate that thing? Because so many people are stuck with unforgiveness. They keep thinking, he doesn't listen, she doesn't listen, she's not doing it my way, she's too stubborn. How do we navigate that aspect now?
Okay. There are two things that people who are in such situation need to recognize. The first is this: when that is happening, all that it is saying to them is that this couple has never consciously expressed their expectations and harmonized it. What is an expectation? Expectation is something that you are sure is going to happen in a certain way. you don't think that it will happen in any other way. You think it would happen in a certain way. Now, expectations that are not expressed, and when I say expectations that are not expressed, I don't mean when the incident has now happened, you are saying, how can you say you've apologized when you have actually not apologized because you didn't do it? No. In a neutral, no offense zone, we have said, when I'm upset, this is how you will apologize. No, I don't want to apologize in that way. This is the way I want to apologize. And you have done back and forth, and you now arrive at a situation. Most couples have never done that. And it's not only with misunderstanding. They have not talked about money. They have not talked about parenting. They have not talked about so very many things. So the couples actually are in the marriage. The husband is having his own expectations. The wife is having his own expectations. Her own expectations. And because these expectations have never been expressed, they have never been discussed, they have never been negotiated. Every time they have to do something together, it creates trouble. So not negotiating those expectations also means that you think that I know what you are expecting, but that's an assumption.
Yes.
So it's an assumption. So because you are also, our map of the world is not the only one. So the fact that this is the way I do things does not mean this is the only way that things can be done. So in my book, Marriage is Not a Trap, I dealt with that extensively. What is an expectation? What happens when you don't express your expectations? What happens when your expectations are disappointed? Are your expectations even realistic? So in the illustration I gave about me and my husband and money, where we were starting, it would have been very unrealistic for my husband to still have the expectation that I will be a guru as managing family finance in year one. So in the same way, so number one, couples who are in the situation that you described, they need to understand, my husband is not a bad person. My wife is not a bad person. It's just that there are gaps. As we started our marriage and are moving on, there are things that we did not do. And because we did not do it, it's showing up. So if me and you, we want to go on a journey to Benin now, and we just say, let's go to the Benin together, and we didn't decide how will we go, which route will we take. When we get to Ojota interchange, when I start going towards Ikorodu, you are going to say, what are you doing in Ikorodu? Are we not going to Benin? Then me, I'm going to say, hey, we are going to Benin. You say, why are you facing Ikorodu? We will stop there, have a certain disagreement. Depending on how we do it, I may continue in Ikorodu. I may go to Shagamu. But when we get to Shagamu again now, what if I start going towards Ibadan? We have another altercation. The thing is that all the routes you want and all the routes I want, they will take us to Benin. However, the reason we are having those altercations along the way is not because any of us is foolish. It's because before we set out, we didn't sit down and say, which route will we go through? And that is the point when you say, no, you cannot go through Ikorodu. They are fixing road. Why should we go? Okay, and we will go through it, but even though it's longer, something or a road is not safe, all of those kind of things. If we don't, that we didn't have that conversation at the beginning, is the reason why we are now quarreling as we go along the way. And what many people do is that when they now start quarreling along the way, instead of even saying, this thing we didn't do at the beginning, let's kukuma park at the stop. And Kuku now agree. Instead of them to do that, they will, one person will face this way, the other person will face this way. It is when they get to another decision-making point that they will. And if you realize that a couple in their life, they're going to make thousands of decisions. They're going to, face a lot of changes in their life. They're going to have to influence one another in numerous ways. When they have not intentionally set some of these expectations and harmonize them, it's a critical problem. So the problem people have is not that they are having conflict. The problem people have is not that they are fighting one another. The real problem they have is that they have not sat together ever as a couple. Some people are
Yes.
going to say to me, hey, we talked. It's not just talking. So when you talk, you are going to say, okay, so how are we going to be making decisions? So
Yeah.
what are you free to do without me intervening? And so very many things. These are some of the
Yeah.
things I talked about in my book, Marriage is Not a Trap. So
Yes.
expectations, assumptions that my partner understand expectations, those are it. Remember, your question to me is that the person is not apologizing. More important than the apology is that if you don't know what is causing the disagreements that is making the apology necessary, you're going
Yes.
to be having more and more situations, and apologies are going to be accumulating. And I always say
Yeah.
to people, when a person says, I don't want to do again, it's not you
No.
that they are saying, I don't want to do again. It's just that the situation has become so painful for them, and they are thinking, I cannot live my
Wow.
life in this painful situation. So we need
Yes.
to get
Yes.
to the root. Now, the second thing, even for couples who discuss their expectations, express it, harmonize
Yeah.
it, also is that things are changing. Life is changing. Look at us now. By this time of last year, we thought something was what we were facing. Then cash
Yes.
crunch came,
So.
petrol scarcity came. Anybody who had a
Yes.
child in school now is having to look for more money to,
Yes.
things just keep changing. So
Yes, ma'am.
couples do not have a systematic way of
Yes. Yes. Yes.
reviewing when things happen. What they do is they're deciding on the go, they're reviewing on the go. So the wife will go and think about something and think this is the way we should go. And it is probably at execution point that the husband will know that she's thinking
Yes.
differently from him. The husband will go and do something. So not having a systematic way. And that's
Yes.
what now brings me to my new book, Couples
Yes.
Connect.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
after working with so many couples over the last 7 years, in FSC, we teach them to have family meeting. I also say that couples ought to be having what I call executive committee meeting.
Yeah.
Executive committee meeting is the one that the husband and wife do. And why do you need to have executive committee meeting? Executive committee meeting is where you'll be ironing all these things out. You have not quarreled yet. So a typical illustration is you have an 8-year-old child now. At 10 or 11, you want that child to go to secondary school. So in now that the child is 8 years old, in executive committee meeting number 1, you people say child is going to be 10 in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
What kind of school do we want child to go to? What is the criteria we are going to use to decide the school the child is going to? Wife will say this, husband will say this, and they will say, okay, you know what? In the next executive committee meeting, we will look at it again. By the time they're coming, they're prepared. In the third executive committee meeting, maybe they have harmonized
Yes.
their expectations about the criteria they
Expectations.
will use. Then, okay, maybe they will assign somebody to go and look for school. When that person is looking for school now, the person is not just looking for school. The person is looking for school according to the agreed criteria. So by
Yes,
the time
ma'am.
the person brings the schools they have found there, in the executive committee meeting again, they will discuss, okay, what's this one? If that person asks questions, they're asking it. So it's not that the man has gone to look for the school and the woman is now saying, how can you even be choosing this
Using
kind of
this
a school?
school.
It's not that the woman has chosen a school and the husband is now saying, are you crazy? How can we afford this fee? Because they've already talked. So they then have additional questions. The
Yeah.
partner who did not find the school can go and investigate as well, So by the time their child is going to school at the
Wow.
age 10,
They are
they are,
prepared.
they are
They are ready.
agreed about what it is that they're
Yes.
going to do.
Yes, ma'am.
And so
Wow.
executive committee meeting provides a place for expectations to be continually expressed, discussed, negotiated, harmonized.
Yes.
So you find out that for couples who practice this kind of a thing, they have misunderstandings as well. But instead of their misunderstandings turning into fights, the person will say, okay, when we are having our next executive committee meeting, I will lay it down. Because in the executive committee meeting, you are not resolving a quarrel.
Yeah.
You are just looking proactively at your life together. And so you can, the only law for that meeting is you cannot insult anybody. And you cannot be rude to your partner. So you can say all what is in your mind, but you must say it in a respectful way. And you must come with the attitude and approach of, we are on a table together trying to resolve this issue, not on a table together of insisting that I have my own way or my own way. So I like to tell people, you know, the things that many people worry about are the symptoms. They're not the root. And, you know, so if I give you Panadol because you have headache, when it is a brain tumor that you have, you will still continue to die.
Yes.
So some people would be here and they'll be saying, why doesn't Mommy Mo give us practical tips to use? There are many practical tips I can give you. However, if you don't understand these roots of the issue, any tips I give you will be a palliative that would not, you know, do you too much good.
Wow. This is so good. Someone said in retrospect, all this intervention, be formally expressed significantly, shows a gap in the child's rearing practice and rituals of working. Wow, you've said a lot. Wow, thank you so much, Ma, for that. I am particularly interested in the workbook that you talked about because somebody has asked me before, but the person said, all these efforts, all this hard work that we're putting into marriage, how come our parents did not do so much and their marriage lasted long? I don't know if you've ever heard that question.
Let me answer that question very, very quickly. You see, there is a myth. There is a myth. And let me debunk it once again. I debunk it at every opportunity. People think that our parents' marriages happened seamlessly. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Here is what happened with many of our parents. And there's also some people who think that all the marriages in the past were just fake. People were not happy. Perish the thought. There are many of them who were happy, who enjoyed their relationships with one another. If I take you back to 100 years ago, when you were in the village, if you wanted to marry somebody in the village, you are not marrying a stranger. And this is what I mean. So if you grew up in the same village as that man or woman, the age grade system, the way of living was intentionally educating you, shaping your paradigm, helping you to understand. So beats for attention were understood. By the time you were marrying somebody, you actually had a very intense love map already about them. Why? You went to market, their mother went to market with your mother, you went to the stream together, and then people don't know. Go and read history books well. When people gathered around the fireplace in the evening, a lot of education was going on. So you'd be taught, no, he stepped on your toes. That's not enough reason to fight. Oh yeah, two of you should discuss it. A lot of, it's just that those things they were doing were not documented. So we don't have it. So we think that when we moved to living in the city and acquired the European wave, you know, there are these things that we are introducing now are new. No, the reason that we are using European ways to educate people now is because we're living in the European world. I watch Korean movies. The average Nigerian woman cannot survive in a Korean home. Why? In Korean culture, till today, with all the computers they're doing for us, the grandparents will live in the same place. The parents will live The children will be there, and it is the woman who will be organizing everything. So
Cooking,
we have
cleaning.
chosen to live the European way. So when I say get couples connect workbook, and every quarter meet with your husband or meet with your wife, and you people should walk through it. People will say our parents didn't do it. Why do you think people who came to the city were having village meetings? It wasn't for socialization. It was so that you will come to meet with your people once in a month. If people are quarreling with their husband, the older women will address it. If the men are having problems, the older men will address it. And so there was an informal intervention process.
Yeah.
All that we, especially in FSC, all that we are doing now is that we have gone back and looked and said, what were the people doing that we are not doing? So if you come to me and my husband now, you will not see vision statements in my house, even though we educate people to have vision statements now. But if you sit and talk with me and my husband, you will know that we started life out with a very clear vision of the end. We didn't just accidentally arrive at 37 years marriage and happy. It was something that we had sat down and said, even before we married, that when we are 50 years together, what kind of a life do we want to be living? And when we made that decision, as we have gone out, I tell people, I write in my group, now that me and my husband are pensioners, every morning we have short chit chats. And it's usually about, so what has been the main part of our conversation now is that both of us are old. If any of us dies now, we cannot say that we are young. So in the years that we have left, now that our children are marrying, what are the things that we want to?
Wow. Wow. Guys, this is my network. Feels like she's frozen for a bit. Wow, this is so good.
Can you hear me again now?
Okay, I can hear you now, ma. I lost you for
All
a bit.
right then. And I'm going to say this to the women as well. So for example, I'm a talker. The way I'm talking to you now is the way that I talk in real life. My husband is a quiet person. I had to understand him and he had to understand me. So these conversations I'm saying we are having, so I can talk continuously for 30 or 40 minutes. And he would just be listening to me and nodding his head. And then when I finish, I say, you have anything to say? He will smile and say nothing. I don't get offended because I know that all I need to do is start watching his behavior over the next couple of weeks. I will know whether he had and understood me. Anything that I suggested, which he likes, I will see him start living it out.
Amazing.
So when we're saying these things, your partner may not be somebody who is going to sit down and carry the book. In the book Couples Connect, I actually stated that, and I said, if your partner is unwilling to do this quarterly assessment with you, nothing spoils, because you can do it. So another thing I will share is, you know what I said about going to Leventy stores and reading books?
Yes, ma.
My chairman has never read any book on marriage.
Wow.
Yeah. So what happens, I read the book, I start living it out, and I say, wonders will never end. Or more people have done wonders. He will say, what? I say, do you know that they even wrote a book about this? Now, when I read it, I was just starting to understand what is happening in our marriage. And they said this, that when this is happening and so on. What is happening there? I'm sharing the knowledge just in ordinary conversation with him. Now, I could have chosen and said, hey, you don't read books. See 5 books that I bought for you. Well, what if, according to his upbringing, according to his nature? Because when I read books, even my own sisters tell me that, Modupe, you just have grace for reading books. That is my own sisters that our parents introduced all of us to books together. They read, but not as much as me. How much someone who didn't grow up in a household where he was made. So if I start quarreling with him that he's not trying to learn the same
Not
way
like
I want to
anybody.
learn, I am the one who is creating trouble for myself.
Yes. 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 Wow, that's amazing. I hope that those people who keep saying, why must I be the one to do the work? I hope that they are hearing these things that you're saying and they are making a decision to play their own part. I think that a lot of times we want to change
I
our
mean,
spouse. We want
let,
to
let
want
me
to change them.
let me speak to something that you just said. Those people who say, is it me who is going to be doing the work? Dr. Alexandra Solomon, she's on Instagram, who I follow. Very fantastic psychologist who does relational psychology. She even teaches in Northwest University Marriage 101 for the first
Wow.
year students. She put out a post yesterday and it was very instructive. She said it's very important for you in your relationship to do whatever you are doing for yourself. What I mean is, so if you're reading a book, I tell people, if you're listening to me tonight, please don't listen for your husband or wife who is not here.
Yes.
Listen, they're not here, so they're not hearing it. Instead, listen for yourself
For
and say, as I'm
yourself.
listening to Mrs. Ehirim, what am I learning? What do I need to use? How should I use it? What will I implement? The thing
Yeah.
is this: everybody changes only when the pain of not changing becomes something that they cannot bear. Anybody changes. You are here struggling to find out, information how you will do because the pain of not changing has become unbearable for you. Do it for yourself. The good
Wow.
thing about changing for yourself is this: people learn by watching other people do things. That's what many people don't realize. Even Bible, Paul said in 2 Corinthians that you are the Bible that God has written for the heathen to read.
To
So
read.
most people don't know that if you model good attitude, good behavior, around the people, for the people who are around you. In the beginning, you may look strange. After some time, they will start adjusting their behavior. So somebody
Yes.
who normally shouts and is abusive, you shout, they shout, they're abusive, you are calm. When they finish shouting, you talk to them. The next time you do the same thing, after some time, they
Look like, am I
themselves will be
okay?
embarrassed to be shouting at you.
Yes,
And
ma. True.
gradually, they will start toning down and talking. Of course, people are going to say, what if you are in abusive situation? One of the things I always say to people is this: be careful. There is a possibility, yes, that you may be living with somebody who is abusive. But in many cases, the reason why you are quick to assume that your partner is abusive is because the only thing that you have fed yourself with are stories of abusive marriage.
Wow.
You have not fed
Wow.
yourself with stories of healthy marriages, so you are not able to recognize the traits of healthy marriages. Is your partner behaving in a bad way in a particular situation, or is your partner a toxic person? The thing is that most people immediately begin to assume that their partner is toxic. Before
Yes.
you reach that conclusion, ask yourself, for every bad marriage story that you read, how many good marriage stories have you read?
Have you read?
Again, researchers have done the work and they said that the impact that one bad marriage story makes on you, you need to read the stories of 5 good marriages to erase it. So now imagine that your steady diet is bad marriage, bad marriage, bad marriage. It
Yes.
means that you are just constantly looking out. Am I in danger? Am I in danger?
Yes.
Am I in danger? And once you put that filter on, you can't see
You can
anything good
see.
about your partner.
Absolutely. I was just telling my husband this same thing today that there's so much negativity going out there about marriages. And there are good marriages. There are great marriages. But I realize some of these people, they're like, let me keep my own. No, my own is working. No, let me put. But there are amazing, amazing, amazing marriage. Mimo, you've said so much today. I cannot even begin to. So for those that just joined in, we're talking about how to build a strong and exciting marriage. And this is almost an hour. We're going to be wrapping up soon. If you have any question, Mommy Mo has been married for 37 years. 37. So if you want to tap her brain, if you want to get answers to that burning question, this is your moment. While we're waiting for that in the next 1 or 2 minutes, Mommy Mo, please, how can we get this workbook? Because we need it. We need to help our lives. We need to be happy for ourselves. Please, how can we get this workbook?
Okay. It's available in my seller store. If you just go to my page on Instagram, The Right Fit Marriage, and you click the link in the bio, just so that you can have easy access to it. I actually created a link before. You just see Buy Couples Connect. Just click on it. It will take you to the seller store. You pay for it. It will be delivered to you instantly.
Fantastic. Tinky25 is asking where can we buy her books. Go to the link in her bio. You will see the link to her books. She also has a Facebook group. I'm sure that's also in the link in her bio. And please, if you have questions, you can also slide into her DM. I'm not seeing any question on this chat, and I'm not surprised because I know that she has done justice beyond. I've been seeing all your comments in the chat, and I'm grateful that you participated. Mommy Mo, thank you so much. We're going to go back home. We're going to choose to put in the work. We're going to choose to read books. We're going to choose to assess our marriages by ourselves without waiting for our spouse. And we're going to choose to enjoy the marriage that we have. Mommy Mo, thank you. I'm going to release you now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are grateful.
Thank you very much for having me. It has been a very exciting evening for me as well.
Yes, we did. We had a great time. Yes, so thank you. She's answered all our questions. Show some love in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Show some love. She's going to leave now. Go and follow her on Instagram. Go and join her Facebook community. 19,000 people are there and they are grabbing all of this every day. What you heard today is just a tip of the iceberg. Mommy Mo, we'll let you go now. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye. You're welcome. Tinky25. I'm Afuji. You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. Bye. The replay is going to be up. Go and watch it and go and share it as well. Bye, everyone.